It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one!
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi, I'm Rupha Ramani and you're watching Sports This Week. It's a roundup of all the top stories from the week that was. We'll start with this one. Australia's cricketers were stalked and molested in Indore last week. Of course, who's to take accountability for this and how did this impact a world-class tournament? Now, India did the unthinkable and beat Australia in the semi-final of the Women's ODI World Cup. Jemimah Rodrigues starred in a marathon run chase and broke down right after. How did she battle anxiety and what does this win mean for Indian cricket? Teenage star Lamine Yamal's comments in a podcast sparked anger in Spain. What can he learn from this episode and will it mar the image for Spain's next superstar? Vinicius Junior seems to be at war with his own club, threatening to quit Real Madrid and then gave a half-hearted apology. Is this standoff between a star player and his coach Xabi Alonso going to tear Madrid apart? And Japan wows United Kingdom. Their sumo wrestlers who travelled for a wrestling event for the first time in 34 years took over London in their quest to sightsee, resulting in some very unplanned viral content. All of that heading your way. India is set to take on Australia in the semi-final of the Women's World Cup. It's a big matchup. India has a battle on its hands as they gear up to face Australia, a side that's been unbeaten in the tournament so far. But the champions seem to have been rattled before they even take the field. An ugly incident over the last week, in fact, has cast a spotlight on the tournament and India. Two of the Australian cricketers were stalked and molested right outside their hotel. Now, while the perpetrator here was caught within hours, a country is enraged. And a tournament that was supposed to be about the best talent from all over the world, intense contest between bat and ball and getting behind the women to cheer them on in their quest for greatness, has now turned into one which will be remembered for an incident that should never have happened in the first place. Let me, unfortunately, here go through some of the details of what happened, and I'll keep this part as brief as I can. It was Thursday, a day after Australia had beaten England at the Holkar Stadium in Indore. Two of the Aussie cricketers stepped out of their hotel. The team was in fact staying at Radisson Blu, and they had been in the city ever since October 17. That's a while away from today. That's owing to their tournament schedule. So safe to say the cricketers here in question knew a little bit about the area decently well around the hotel and were visiting a cafe that they were already familiar with. The time was 11 a.m. It was right in the middle of the day. But within minutes, the team manager gets a distress signal, a live location alert and a text saying they are being stalked and a man on a motorbike was trying to grab them. The team officials swung into action and sent a car and assistance. A bystander, meanwhile, has noted down the bike number. A case was registered moments later. The Madhya Pradesh Cricket Association here also stepped in to help, and the police made an arrest. Someone with priors, theft, robbery, and they did so within 6 hours. But the two women athletes here who were assaulted, shaken, disturbed, and from the accounts I heard, terrified.
CA can confirm two members of the Australian women's team were approached and touched inappropriately by a motorcyclist while walking to a cafe in Indore. The matter was reported by team security to the police, who are handling the matter.
The machinery in Indore that responded seems to have been immaculate and thorough. Whether it was the police who did due diligence and nabbed the culprit, the State Cricket Association who cooperated and assisted timely, or that innocent bystander who rushed in to help when he spotted the cricketers in danger. But I ask this, can all of this truly make up for that one vile act? An act that shamed an otherwise spectacular event, a tournament that was supposed to be a celebration of the best in women's cricket.
We maintain a zero-tolerance policy towards such acts. The law will take its due course to ensure justice is served. We will also review our existing safety protocols and strengthen them further if necessary to ensure such incidents are not repeated.
The Indian Cricket Board is understandably disappointed, and we all are, as we should be. India's cricket administration has been working tirelessly towards the success of women's cricket, giving it the finances, giving it the platform it rightly deserves. A World Cup here in India, it's huge. And this tournament was supposed to be the jewel in the crown. Not a tournament that will now be remembered and marred by this one disturbing incident. And it's not just the BCCI. India's cricket fraternity is angry.
We are famous for Atithi Devo Bhava. To hear of this is very, very sad. It is without question a heinous incident. I do hope that the guilty person is punished severely. You lock him up and throw away the keys. That's the only way, I think.
On one hand, you have a country, India, which is scaling great heights, winning medals, forging paths where we hadn't in the past, charting new avenues, all in the quest to build a thriving sporting ecosystem. We dream to host an Olympics event, and then something like this happens, and in a city that boasts of being the cleanest and one of the safest in the country. The math isn't mathing, and if this still doesn't enrage any of you, the next clip surely should.
सभी खिलाड़ी हो कहीं पर भी जाता है, जैसे हम लोग भी बाहर जाते हैं, तो कम से कम एक लोकल आदमी को तो बताते ही हैं। खिलाड़ियों को भी इससे मेरा ख्याल है कि ध्यान में आएगा कि अब भविष्य में हम कभी भी अपना स्थान छोड़ें तो हमारी सिक्योरिटी या लोकल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को बता के निकलें, क्योंकि क्रिकेट खिलाड़ी का बड़ा क्रेज़ है।
Here's what sport teaches us. While there is individuals who are playing a team game and individuals who shine through, who get glory and triumph, when it comes to the losses, it's a collective failure, collective ownership, collective responsibility. No pointing fingers and no blame game. But clearly, some ministers in this country need more than just these lessons, especially when confronted with a crisis or a grave matter. And haven't we all, quite frankly, had enough of this excuse that's become a bit of a cliched joke, and a sick one at that, which has none of us laughing? The ones who were assaulted should have known better, should have dressed better, walked better. The bottom line is we all need to do better. Not just a handful and not just once. All of us, and every single day, every year. Such incidents need to act as a wake-up call, not an opportunity to deflect or brush it all under the carpet. And we take great pride on being a country that is most welcoming, of being the best hosts, where all are treated with reverence and respect. So there are two things we can possibly do here. One, of course, and this is just to make ourselves feel better as a country, condemn the act and call it a case of one rotten apple and move on, as if nothing's happened. Or two, question someone like Varghese for making statements that have hurt and shamed a country. Now, if we, a country on the rise, want a chance to host the Olympics, want a seat at the table, we need to respond in one voice, and especially to instances like this. It was a long night as many here in India went to bed filled with raw emotions, disbelief coupled with euphoria and a massive sense of pride. Our cricketers topped the unbeatable, unshakable Australia in their tracks. The very same Aussies who know how to win a game from just about anywhere. And in no less than a World Cup semi-final. There were tears, there was relief, and it felt like a heavy weight was lifted off their shoulders. So we ask, what does this win mean for Indian cricket? And what did the women achieve last night? Now, I'm aware this is a sports show and sports is about the facts, right? The scoreline, who won, who lost, how did the win come about, what records were broken? Well, plenty. For one and foremost, this was the highest run chase in a World Cup. And that ought to tell you enough. But there is more to this than just the scoreline. A scoreline that will not do justice to what this match truly meant for the women out there who broke down in tears right after. What this meant for us as a nation. Now, I know, and a lot of you watching this would confirm, many quiet and unbothered households suddenly would have come alive last night. The dormant TV sets frantically turned on when some internet site notified you of the scorecard. You were wildly thinking, is this really happening? The last 30 minutes of the game was pure drama. The dugout was very stoic. They were sitting in their spots, not moving an inch. You could see the tears welling up in Captain Harmanpreet's eyes as the two batters out in the middle moved closer to the target. The women huddled next to each other with Amol Mazumdar, the coach. They were all fighting their emotions, trying to keep it all in check. Some clutching their chains, an object of faith, no doubt. Contrastingly, out in the pitch, in the humid Mumbai still air, with the world now watching and a fierce Australia still holding on, Jemimah Rodrigues and Amanjot Kaur were a sea of composure, putting one silken touch after the other, knocking off the runs very calmly without any rush. And of course, upsetting the rhythms of the wily Molyneux and experienced Sutherland. Jemimah kept muttering to herself even as her partner came in to talk to her in between deliveries, trying to keep things easy and breezy. Even as every single person watching, from the spectators at the stadium to the teammates, the Australians, the opposition out there, us watching at our homes, we knew what an epic moment this was. We knew how nervous anyone would be in this situation. When that final run was struck, all hell broke loose. Smriti Mandana, Jemimah's closest friend and confidant in that dressing room, was first out, running towards the women out in the middle as Jemimah crumpled to the ground in tears. Harmanpreet Kaur broke down as she was engulfed by her coach Amol, tears and smiles of relief everywhere. All the other girls had surrounded Jemimah by then, bringing her to her feet. Those pictures rocked a whole nation as realization sunk in on what this Indian team had just achieved. Jemimah's raw, real emotions last night told you what this win meant, not just for her, but for entire team. A team that was being tagged for its heartbreaks in the past. A team that was told they couldn't handle pressure. They couldn't handle knockouts. That they didn't have it in them to finish off games. That they just couldn't cross the line. They were no good. But that was not all.
It was really hard this last month. I've cried almost every day through this tour. I wasn't doing well mentally, going through anxiety. When I couldn't carry on, my teammates encouraged me. Each and every member who chanted, cheered, and believed for every run they were cheering, that pumped me up.
This is someone who was dropped from the 2022 World Cup, who was scoring nothing heading into this clash in this tournament, who was out of her depths and came out on top despite all of that. That there is true strength. That is champion stuff. Bearing your soul then for the world to see, to let them see your pain, your vulnerability, your weakness. That led to a moment of absolute triumph. A triumph that was relatable. It's a resolve that the best somehow tap into in the dying moments of a game. Something that just keeps them going. And Jemimah did not get here by herself. Her family who was there rooting for her, her teammates who pushed her up the order at number 3, who were there with her throughout, putting her faith in her, all helped her get here. That is grit. That is tenacity. These women made a whole country wake up from their slumber. While the official numbers, of course, aren't completely in, some snapshots tell me around 125 million people tuned in overall to watch a historic match unfold, and a peak concurrence of 15.94 million. You all were willed to come and be a part of something incredible. Not out of obligation, not as a favor. This was no empathy or pity watch. These athletes, with their fearless display, commanded us to see them and be amazed by them. Those tears, those emotions spilling out for all to see, told us how much they had endured, how tough this journey had been, how doubly hard they've had to strive to be seen, to be cheered on and even watched. Now, the tournament is not over. We know that there is still a World Cup final. And by the time November 2nd comes, you'll see many previews coming up, matchups, what to expect when India takes on South Africa. But today, as an Indian and a sports lover, that doesn't matter to me. What eventually happens on November 2 will make no difference to what we learned last night, that these cricketers have already showed us all that is possible. They have showed us a glimpse of what it takes and what it means to be superhuman. And that is the memory I will keep with me of India's champions igniting this beloved sport once again. El Clasico, football's grandest rivalry, just got its most controversial chapter yet. Drama, aggression, chaos, and a war of words that's now spilling far beyond the football pitch. Real Madrid may have beaten Barcelona 2-1, but the real story wasn't written in goals. It was written in microphones, tweets, and headlines. Because this time it wasn't Madrid or Barca, it was Lamine Yamal versus all of Spain. The golden boy of Spanish football has suddenly found himself at the center of a national storm, and not for what he did on the field, but for what he said off it. In a Twitch podcast, Yamal called Real Madrid cheaters. One casual remark that has now become a full-blown controversy. Madrid fans went after him, Madrid players confronted him, even his own Spanish teammates have turned on him. Here's how it all unfolded. Now, during a Twitch stream with influencer Ibayanos, Yamal compared Real Madrid to a Kings League team known for benefiting from referee bias. One word there, steal, and Spanish football exploded. Madrid supporters demanded an apology from Yamal. He was booed during the game, and on the pitch, things got heated, literally. Dani Carvajal, his Spain teammate and Madrid defender, directly confronted Yamal after the game. The two exchanged words. Players had to step in, and for a moment, Spain's future looked divided. Because make no mistake, Yamal isn't just a Barcelona player here. He's the face of Spain's future, the boy who helped them lift the Euros, the one La Roja has built its entire next generation around. And yet here he was being booed by Spanish fans, called out by Spanish players, and reprimanded by legends.
He sinned through youth and a lack of maturity in saying what he said. His words gave extra motivation to Madrid.
But look, this isn't just about a podcast quote or a rivalry taunt. It's about how much weight a prodigy carries in modern football. Yamal is still a kid here, but one with the responsibilities of a national hero. And unlike Messi or Ronaldo, who used rivalries to fuel their legacy, Yamal is doing it in a country he represents. That changes everything. Because while Messi and Ronaldo could afford to stoke the rivalry back then, they weren't Spanish. Yamal is. When he takes on Madrid, he isn't just fighting a club here. He's fighting half of his country's fan base. And this isn't the first time he's been in the crossfires. Last year, Yamal was racially targeted during El Clasico. He's been booed, abused, and now publicly attacked online. So yes, the outrage isn't one-sided. It's part of a much deeper rot. A rivalry so intense, it's consuming its own future. But here's where things get dangerous. Because every time a young player like Yamal speaks up, he's being judged as harshly as anyone would a veteran. The system builds him up, calls him Spain's next Messi, but forgets to protect him when he crumbles under that pressure. Barcelona's history is full of prodigies who became legends. Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, but they had mentors, captains, and calm leadership around them. Yamal, he's surrounded by expectations, but not guardians. And that's where Spanish football is failing him. He's not being guided through fame, he's being thrown into its fire. When your teenage superstar is fighting his national teammates and dividing fan bases, it's no longer a player problem now, it's a systemic one. Because in modern football, passion has turned toxic and rivalries have become tools to destroy rather than inspire. So where does Yamal go from here? He can keep feeding the controversy, or he can do what legends always do, Let his football speak. Because you can garner fame overnight, but respect that's earned over years, even from your fiercest rivals. It was a reminder that greatness isn't built on hate, it's built on grace. And for Lamine Yamal, the real game begins now. Real Madrid are flying high, unbeaten in the Champions League, top of La Liga and fresh from dominating Barcelona in El Clasico. Everything looks perfect on paper, but behind the scenes, the Banbao is simmering because the storm that's now brewing could tear through it all. And its epicenter is none other than Vinicius Junior. The golden boy of Brazilian football, the Samba of Madrid's attack, is reportedly unhappy and threatening to leave the club. And the man he's clashing with isn't just anybody there, it's Real Madrid's new boss, Xabi Alonso. It's shaping up into a power struggle, a battle of egos, philosophies and pride. And the burning question is Vinicius Junior becoming bigger than the badge itself. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Vinicius was untouchable. The entire team rallied around him. He had total freedom to dance, to dribble, to dazzle. He was Madrid's chaos agent, unpredictable, uncontainable, unstoppable. But Xabi Alonso, he's cut from a different cloth. He's more about discipline, geometry, control. He believes systems win titles, not stars, not solo performers. And that ideology was on full display in El Clasico over the weekend. 72 minutes in, Real were leading 2-1. Alonso looked to lock the game down, so he called for a change. Vinicius Junior was out, and what followed? A storm of visible frustration in the body language, in his mutters and his glares. Look, no one likes to get subbed. No one likes being subbed here. But when you question your coach's call, that's crossing the line. Alonso kept his composure though and cleared the air around this.
The only thing Vinicius was missing was a goal. It's true that he came off the pitch when he was feeling best, and I could have waited a bit to replace him. But I understood that we needed fresh players to maintain control.
That's diplomacy from a man trying to protect his dressing room. But make no mistake, that substitution exposed the fracture lines that's running through Madrid's glittering facade. Reports from Spain now say Vinicius feels underappreciated. He believes he deserves the same status and salary as Kylian Mbappe. The irony? First listen to this.
Eu só queria jogar futebol, só quero fazer de tudo pelo meu clube e pela minha família.
The Brazilian who said, "I just want to play football," now seems consumed by where he stands in the pecking order in his club. And Madrid's board, they are silent. They're calling it a locker room issue. Translation, we're not getting involved in this. But this silence speaks volumes because history tells us when Real Madrid back a coach, the rest fall in line. Right now, Alonso is Florentino Perez's chosen one. He's rebuilding the club's tactical DNA, and that means no player, not even Vinicius, gets to operate outside the system. And the tension isn't just with Alonso. Earlier this year, Vinicius clashed verbally with Dani Ceballos during a league match, then had an on-field argument with Luka Modric. Those moments hint at something running deeper. A player battling not just opponents here, but his own teammates' patience. Still, no one questions his talent. Vinicius remains electric, his pace, his flair, his fearlessness. It's all there, but brilliance without discipline can fracture a locker room. And Madrid's hierarchy knows that. Especially now, when Mbappe is thriving. Bellingham is bossing midfields, and the team finally looks united after a turbulent season. Alonso wants harmony, Vinicius wants headlines, and that's the collision course they're on now. Real Madrid have seen this play out in the past quite a few times. Ronaldo versus Mourinho, Bale versus Zidane. When egos clash, only one thing always happens: someone leaves. And right now, murmurs say Vinicius is the one contemplating the exit. But leaving Madrid isn't just about leaving a club, it's walking away from destiny. So the question isn't just, will Vinicius Junior leave? It's whether he should. If Alonso can't tame Vinicius' fire, or if Vinicius refuses to be the team man Alonso wants him to be, then the club risks losing more than a player. They risk losing their spark. Sumo wrestlers, the giants of Japan's sporting culture, are making headlines again. But not inside the ring, definitely not under the sacred roof of their sporting facilities, but 14,000 kilometers away in London. The city hosted a sumo competition after 34 long years. What began as a 3-day event quickly turned into a 3-day diplomatic masterclass. The goal? To strengthen cultural ties between Japan and the United Kingdom. But what followed went far beyond that, because these sumo stars turned out to be Japan's best envoy ever. Their sightseeing snapshots, brilliant, turned into viral tourism campaign for Japan. Because who needs ad agencies when you have sumo wrestlers taking selfies in front of the Big Ben? Our next report tells you how Japan's softest power move has become its most effective one yet.
In the land of tea, royalty and football, sumo wrestlers sparked a frenzy earlier this month. For the first time in 34 years, London hosted a full-fledged sumo event, and it proved to be more than just sport. It became a bridge of culture. Japan and the UK, two nations built on discipline, decorum and deep respect, now found common ground in the world's oldest combat sport. But what made this story truly unforgettable is how it went beyond diplomacy. It wasn't a stiff ceremonial flag wave. It was fun. It was emotional. It was human. Because the moment these massive athletes stepped out of the ring and onto the streets of London, everything changed. Sumo wrestlers in traditional robes walking past the Big Ben, taking selfies on the Tower Bridge, smiling with Londoners in Trafalgar Square. Those visuals broke the internet. What began as a cultural exchange suddenly turned into a global tourism campaign without a single marketing brief. Think about it. No million-dollar ad shoots, no glossy slogans, just Japan's most iconic athletes wandering through London's landmarks doing what they do best: connect, entertain, inspire. It's soft power without the PowerPoint. And it did not stop at the landmarks. Even Potterheads got a surprise when the sumo stars stopped at platform 9 3/4. We're not sure if that platform took them to Hogwarts, but if it did, we're betting that Hagrid would have had one serious sumo match waiting. Either way, this sumo safari through London was surely making it one magical experience for everyone who ended up being a part of it. But here's the kicker. It's not just London benefiting from all this. Every Londoner who watched these giants perform, every tourist who clicked a selfie, every kid who gasped at their sheer size and grace is now Googling sumo, Tokyo and Japan travel. That's cultural marketing gold, and Japan did not spend a single yen on this. In fact, this isn't new. Japan has been mastering this soft power playbook for years. From anime and sushi to samurai and sumo, the country has turned heritage into influence. And this latest move fits perfectly into that strategy. Because for many in the West, sumo is seen as old-fashioned, slow, ceremonial, and maybe even outdated. But in London, the world saw something new, a sport of strength, ritual, and incredible discipline. And when those athletes cycled through London streets, yes, cycled, they didn't just show power, they showed personality. In that moment, they weren't just athletes, they were ambassadors of Japan's soul. And that is the beauty of it. Sport doesn't always need a scoreboard or a champion that fits the conventional mold. Sometimes it just needs a stage. And Japan, through sumo, just proved that the heaviest athletes in the world can deliver the most feather-light diplomatic touch and nail it. It's the kind of influence you don't shout about.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point. Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.